Hey guys, Jeremy here with Simple Little Life, and this video is my official review of the Wicked Edge knife sharpening system. Full disclosure right off the bat, I was given this sharpener by Wicked Edge, but it is worth noting that they didn't ask me if I wanted to review it. They didn't seek me out and then send me a unit, but rather I emailed them and I told them, you know, listen, I've got this YouTube channel, I'm a knife maker, and I would love to get my hands on one of your products and try it out and see what all this fuss is about, and they sent it to me. Another thing worth noting is that this was a no-holds-barred gift. They just gave it to me. They said, you know what, if you'd like to do a review, that's great. If you hate it and you want to tell the viewers that you really don't like it and why, you're entitled to do so. We'd like your feedback. We'd like to know what your thoughts are on the sharpener. This was just a gift, and they said, give us your straight up honest opinion. And I'll tell you right now that I am so impressed with this sharpener. I really like it. I've had a lot of comments about between this and the paper wheels. I'm going to do an entirely separate video on that where I'll show them side by side. But from all the knife sharpeners that I've used, this is by far the best one that I've ever put my hands on. I really like this sharpener. I think the reason I like this sharpener so much is because it takes all of the potential for human error, or most of it, out of sharpening a knife. Once you set everything up, I mean, your angles are very strictly controlled, your blade is locked in position, and there's just mechanical controls over the entire process of sharpening the knife, so it makes it so that anybody can put an unbelievable edge, and I mean an unbelievable edge, on a knife. You don't need skill, you don't need practice. There's not like a learning period where you're gonna, like, you know, it's just something that you grab it. Like, I took it out of the box, I put it together, and boom, I was sharpening knives better than I ever have before. So I'm gonna grab a different camera, I'll kind of do a little bit of a walk around, I'll show you a few of the features. And for reference, the model that they sent me, it was the WE-130. One thing I do like about what they do is that they will do different levels of their sharpeners to match your budget. Obviously this one has, it's like a cam actuated locking mechanism. It's spring loaded. This is really nice because it doesn't matter your blade thickness, you put it in there and you lock this down and it will hold it tight. Now they also make a version that actually just uses screws and you tighten them with an Allen wrench. And the reason they're doing that is so that they can get the same sharpening system, the same design, the concept, into the hands and kind of tailor the different models for different budgets depending on how much money you have to spend on a sharpener. So I really do like that with what they're doing. It's not like they've just got one model and that's it. They've got a lot of different levels. Even like their new Gen 3, it's mounted on this plate, and the way that you adjust your tie rod angles, the rod ends, it's just this lever and it moves them both at the same time. Obviously that unit is more expensive, but they've really got a lot of different options, and I think this makes it for a very high-end sharpening system. They've done a lot of work to make sure that it can get into the hands of a lot of different people. So I'm gonna grab a different camera and we'll kind of do a little bit of walk around, and then I'm gonna actually set this up and I'll show you me sharpening a knife with it. Okay, so this is the WE-130, and everything from this blue plate up was sent as part of the kit. Now, a lot of people will mount these to a granite block or a granite plate. I believe you can buy them from Wicked Edge as well, but I just got a piece of 1.5 inch solid maple. And you'll note that I've counterbored 2 holes in the bottom, and so the screws that mount this whole thing down, they go up through this board here, or granite or whatever you're using, and then they're threaded holes on the bottom side of this plate. So that's how this whole thing is bolted down. Obviously this bar that the rods mount on, that gets mounted underneath, and then whatever clamping mechanism you have, the different models and stuff, that gets mounted to this blue plate here. So with that plate mounted to the bottom, we've got this bar right here, and again, some of this stuff is specific to this model, but I'll kind of show you the general features. A lot of their models are very similarly designed. So we've got the square bar, and that actually screws and mounts to the bottom of the plate, and it goes through and holds this tower here. Now this tower, this one's specific to the WE-130. Different models will have different types of clamps. Like I'd mentioned, some of them will have ones with screws, but this is the cam actuated one. You see there's the cam right there. It acts on that little guide there, and then there's a spring in there, and so that ensures constant tension, and it adjusts itself for different thicknesses of blades. And then on this bar here, you'll notice we've got graduations, and these are the degree of angle that you're going to be putting your secondary bevel at. And then if we go around actually to this side here, you can see there's all these little detents drilled in there, and what those do is the screw that clamps this down, it will find one of those detents and center itself. So you don't really need to worry about lining it up exactly on that line. That's just for reference. So you'll put your edge right to there. Let's open this up a bit. Come on. So 25 degrees, we'd put our edge to there, start tightening it in, and you'll feel that detent start to guide the bolt in, and that way you get very consistent angles on both sides, and it's not like you're measuring or doing things like that. Really handy, makes for really quick angle setups. And obviously with this model, I need to set up this angle the same side as this angle to make sure that we're going to have very nice and even edges. And then this little part here that rides on this bar that sets your angle, on the top of that we've got a tie rod end there, and then on that is a long shaft, and that shaft is what your stones will ride up and down on. These are your sharpening stones, or their diamond plates, I guess. You'll notice that big heavy countersink. That's really handy because it just kind of helps guide the rod into this stone carrier assembly thing, or whatever they call it. But that's pretty much it. So with this locked down at whatever angle you so desire, now we've got this sharpening system, and we can move it up and down. It slides around there, and now it's completely controlled how we're coming up to the blade. And it doesn't matter which grit we're using, whether we switch this side, so we've got a 100, 200. Once we get up to the finer and finer grits, these are all dimensionally the same, so we get the exact same bevel as we're going up through our grits, sharpening our knives. And you may notice the holes in the top of the clamp here. What that's for is they've got this little doohickey here, and this will just help you set the same height, an equal height, every time you put the blade in. So depending, if you've got a really narrow short blade, you'd probably run it in the top here and just use that top little bit to grab on. If you're doing like a large kitchen knife, you could go ahead and use the bottom sets of holes. And what you kind of want to do is just kind of set the knife on there and just rest it on those. That just ensures that you've got the same height, because obviously the further the blade comes away from here, it will change your angle. So every time you put a blade in, you just kind of put one of these and kind of remember what what you're using for the different blades that you have. And it's just for initially setting up your blade and clamping it in. And you'll notice on the back side it's slotted here, and what that's for is it just allows this to move as you clamp the blade in. It will make sure that this doesn't get stuck in there. So you just do it like that, clamp it up. You can easily remove this, and then you're ready to start sharpening. And depending on the kit that you get, I mean, there's a large assortment of different grits and types of sharpening stones. I guess they're not stones, I just don't know what else to call them, but we're gonna call them stones. All the way from like 100, I think they go down to like 50. I actually use the 100 quite a bit when I'm doing a brand new edge. Today I'll actually sharpen a brand new edge knife that's never had an edge on it. This is really nice because it really cuts in your secondary bevel quite quickly. Or if you need to completely reprofile a bevel on a knife, you can start with these really coarse stones and then work your way up to the finer and finer, even up to 1600 grit ceramic. And these are when you're getting into nice mirror polishing. And then they've also got different leather strops and stropping compounds for taking it down to different micron level finishes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition the camera. I'm going to kind of set this up in the middle of the hallway in my workshop here, and I'm going to turn my phone on and run a timer so you can see exactly how long it takes to sharpen a knife. The knife we're going to sharpen is this one that I've just finished up. This is a blade that I made for myself. I'm going to be testing this, 154 cm, and this does not have a bevel. It's never been sharpened. There's no secondary bevel whatsoever. So we'll see exactly how long it takes to sharpen a brand new knife. Just to give you an idea, one comment I've seen a lot about this is people say that it takes a long time. I honestly don't buy that. Like, having done about 15 to 20 knives with this, I'm really not that disappointed with the time that it takes to sharpen it. Obviously, if you put, different belts on your belt grinder or something like that and sharpen it up, you can sharpen a knife faster than this, but this isn't slow. And for the results and just the incredible high quality sharpening job, I think that this is so worth the time that it takes. But we'll run the timer and you can see for yourself exactly how long it takes to sharpen a little blade like this. Okay, so sitting down with this brand new blade, I've got my timer going, press start. I'm just gonna set it here. I don't know if you want to leave it like that, maybe. Whatever. Put this little thingy in. Actually, I'm gonna go down to the bottom because it's a fairly long blade. Okie dokie. Now, got it set in there. I'll start off with my 100 grits. What should we sharpen this to? Let's pick our angle here. What is that? 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees on this one. Set this one up to the same. 16, 17, 18, 19. There we go. Make sure it's all locked down proper. And 100 grit. It's coming pretty good. This stand that I'm working on is not the best. Usually I do this on my workbench, but I want to be able to have a good camera angle for you guys. And I've also got this camera right to the side of me, so. Obviously this is going to be the longest part of the process because we're grinding in a brand new secondary bevel. Sharpening up a knife, like just restoring an existing bevel, an existing edge, doesn't take near this kind of time, but essentially we're grinding this in from scratch, so. One thing I really like about this system too is that you can see both sides, how they're coming, and just, you know, do a touch on this side, a touch on this side, touch on this side. It seems to be it's more of an organic process than when you're grinding on a single side and you have to flip to the other side and then look at the side. You can kind of look at both at the same time. Little touch, little touch. Really makes getting a nice even bevel on both sides. It just seems to be a very smooth process. That's pretty good. There. And then how do you know when you need to switch to the next set of stones? Well, you'll feel you're getting a really great fine edge there. It's just really coarse. Especially when you're putting in a brand new bevel for the first time, it's really easy to tell because you can always see the light on the top where it's still flat. But once you start grinding in your new bevel, like I've got this whole thing sharpened now, and often you can kind of feel up this way and you'll kind of feel a burr where you went over it last. Like if I did a few strokes on this side, I can feel a burr right here. And so that lets me know that I'm completely folding the material over now. And so there's no flat parts now. Now we're at a real fine edge where we're folding it, and then we're just gonna keep going back and forth. So that's about the time when we can continue to the next level of fineness in the stone. Okay, we're gonna switch up to 200 now. And now we'll start going a lot quicker. What you really want to do is just kind of make sure that you're getting, you can kind of tell the difference in the scratch marks from the stones. Like just from the 100 to the 200, I can see a big difference in the texture of the scratch marks that you're putting onto the steel as you're sharpening it. So you can kind of tell once you've gotten all the marks from the 100 out with the 200, and that means you can go into the next and the next and the next. It's one of these things that you just, sharpening in general, after you've done it a few times, it really starts to make sense, and you can kind of see like, okay, now every stroke I'm doing now is leaving this type of a scratch mark in it, so you can go to the next finest one. Just coming well. So that's it for 200. Like I say, once you get past the initial grinding in of your secondary bevel there, it's a lot quicker. Now we're jumping to 400 grit. Just clean this dust off. You can also tell there's different sounds as you go through the grits too. Like when I first start with one of the stones, it sounds different than when you're done with that level. It's a smoother sound than when you first start. So right now I'm taking off the scratches from the 200. It's louder. Once I've gotten everything down to 400, it's got a much quieter, smoother sound to it. So that's another way to gauge when you move to your next level of coarseness. And that's pretty good for 6. And this here, like 600 grit with this quality of an edge, that's already as sharp as a lot of knives come from factories with. There's like even this right here, it's a fully usable edge, but we're gonna take it a lot better than this.
Okay, now going to the 800. Hopefully the timer's still going. Yep, it's still going. Pro tip, if you have a Fitbit that goes on your wrist, like this counts for steps, and that's awesome. Feeling healthier already. Okay, 800, we're good there. That's a great looking edge. Let me zoom this angle. Let me zoom this side cam in a bit so you can kind of see a little more of what's happening. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. Because it's a very gratifying method of sharpening knives, because just right now looking at it, I'm like, that looks so incredible. It looks like a Benchmade comes. Like, it's amazing. I'm gonna move up to the 1000 grit. And then a lot of you may be wondering, like, what's the proper motion with these? I think typically it's kind of like a forward one, but sometimes I'll go up. Sometimes I'll go straight, kind of more linear and not so much up. Sometimes I'll actually come backwards depending on the knife that I'm sharpening. And as you saw in the beginning, sometimes you'll kind of focus on a single area and just, I don't know if there's necessarily a right or a wrong way. I mean, they're diamond plates on here. I think the big thing is, as you're finishing, finish up with the same style of stroke, whether it be an upward stroke or an out stroke. Oop. That is looking really good. Okay, now we're going to jump to the ceramics. Now with the ceramics, I will strictly go that way. Like I will never come down with the ceramics. I don't know if it would wreck them or not, but I'm always a little bit more careful with these than I am with the diamond stones. And once you get towards the end of the sharpening with ceramics, I mean, there's no resistance whatsoever. It's like pushing across glass, or it just seems to smoothly, it just slides over there like. Okay, that's good for the 1200. Now 1600 grit. And again, right when you start this, you can feel some resistance. And once it starts to just slide like glass, like just slips right over the knife, that's when you know you're done at that stage. And that is what I call a sharp knife. How long did that take? 15 minutes. Putting in a brand new bevel. I'm actually gonna get the leather strops out for this one too, just for fun. All right, so these are the leather strops. They've got the two different colors of leather, and then you use the different paste with the different ones. So the coarser one is a 5 micron finish, and you'll use this yellow paste, and then this the lighter one, the lighter color one is 3.5 micron, and that's this green paste here. So we're gonna use both of these. I like to keep these protected and dust free as much as I can, and you just use the slightest little bit of this paste on here. I'm actually probably guilty of always putting too much on. So about like that, and then I just kind of spread it around, slather it on both of them. And then we're going to adjust our angle real quick. Alright, so we're going to adjust our angle. We're going to move it in 2 degrees. So we were at 19, so 18, 17. Wait a minute, we're 19, 18, 17. Let's take this off. I don't want to drop that. That'd break my heart. So it's 15, 16, 17. Mr. Jiggly Hands here. So, we've adjusted our angles. Now let's start stropping. And then obviously for the leather, we're gonna use just upstrokes like this. And this is where you get just an incredible finish on your bevel, on your blade. Just think of all the Fitbit steps I'm getting. I'm so healthy right now. Okay, I think we're gonna call that good. Yes, we are gonna call that good. Because it is good. Okay, so we'll take the blade out and then I'll show you how sharp it is. That's nice. So just take a look at that amazing bevel, that secondary bevel we've just put on there. The consistency, how even it is, both sides, they're exactly the same. And the way that it cuts is just, it's phenomenal. Just amazing. Okay, we'll cut test. Little thin newsprint. This is just ridiculous. I don't care what anybody says, that is sharp.
So there's some footage of how sharp this knife came. Absolutely incredible results that you can get. And again, the thing I love the most about this sharpening system is that it takes all the precision, the fine craftsmanship. It takes the art of sharpening a knife and it's been engineered into this system. So really you set things up, you clamp your blade in there and you provide the manual labor and just voila, you just get this incredible edge on your knife. Now, would I buy this with my own money? Absolutely. I wish I had found this product a long time ago because I've spent a lot of money buying all different types of sharpeners, Landskis, the paper wheels, the work sharps and all these different things. None of them are even half as good as this. One comment that I've had on a few of my videos, people are telling me that the Landski does the exact same thing. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do the same thing. That's like saying a red Dodge Neon does the same thing as a red Ferrari. Well, yeah, they're both cars. They both drive, but they're two different classes of vehicle. Same thing. This is a completely different class of a sharpener than the Landski. Kind of same idea, you know, controlled angles and stuff like that, but don't confuse that and don't think for a second that they're very similar because they're really not. And I've used both. I still own Landskis. Completely different than this. Not knocking the Landskis. I mean, they do a good job, but they don't do what this does. Probably the biggest thing that people have against this is that it's not cheap. And no, it's not cheap. Having said that, like if you want a really good quality handmade knife, it's gonna be more expensive than a production knife. That's just how it is. If you want good quality in life, you always have to pay more for it. It's a matter of whether it's worth it to you. To me, absolutely. I mean, I make knives for a living. I love sharp knives. I love high quality things. And this is definitely that. I don't know that there are many better knife sharpening systems in the world than this. I've certainly never tried them, but this is quite a bit above anything else I've ever used. The only thing that I don't like about this particular model, most of them, and it's not really a big deal, but this has a maximum capacity of 3/16 of an inch. So some of the knives that I make, and I'm starting to make less of them, but some of the knives I make are like 1/4 inch thick. I can't sharpen that with this. I still have to do that one on my paper wheels. That would be the one kind of qualm that I have. Having said that, when I see the mechanism, the design of this, I realize that getting that extra 1/4 inch, it's a lot more work, and really, how often do people need to sharpen 1/4 inch blades? Lately I've made a lot of them, and I don't know why. I'm starting to go away from those again, because really 1/4 inch is just really thick. So if I were to say one negative thing about this system, it's that it doesn't do 1/4 inch. Having said that, even knowing that it wouldn't, I would still buy this and use it for myself and for my knives, for my customers' knives. It's just hands down one of the greatest sharpeners, the greatest sharpener I've ever used, and probably one of the greatest ones on earth. That's the truth of the matter. One tip that a lot of guys have told me, I've never actually tried it, I'm going to try it right now. So you just take a finger of a glove like this, cut it off, and then just cut a little tiny hole in the end, like that, just so it barely fits. You want a nice snug fit on that shaft, that's better. And then pull it around like this to protect the bearings there. Now, see, we've got no dust can get in on those bearings, so thank you. I'm not sure who told me that. It was one of the viewers that told me that, and I forget who it was, but that's a great tip. And there you have it, guys. Again, like, I haven't had this for too long. I've probably had it 3 weeks or a month, so I can't really speak to the longevity of it. All this stuff, these mechanisms, I mean, it's really well made. This stuff isn't gonna wear out. The only thing that I'm not sure about would be the stones. I do know replacing your stones is not cheap, but it's this whole quality conversation again, so. That's that. Anyways, you can take that for what it's worth, guys. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm a believer. I think these things are absolutely fantastic. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.